name mentioned in the same breath with Mitchelville. But you don't know me. God ain't leaving no trace of the preacher man in books and papers. So here I am, like the old church called those. Get a work done. Speak for me. Well, let it be known that I love this town called Mitchelville because I love freedom, the opportunity to use God-given gifts to do yourself and for your people. Freedom comes sweetest when you can help somebody, and I done that too. We will have Deacon Lewis come and lead us in the song.
The late Charles John III joined St. James Baptist Church. And you know, as they say, songs in your heart. Well, he had this song that he sang that just fit me. I'm not sure where he got it from, but I see somebody know. It's called I Done Done. Everybody familiar? Hold your hand while I sing. I want you all to sing. You just volunteered to sing with me. All right? Listen to Ron and pick us up. And here, how we start. Oh, my Lordy, I done what you told me to do. You got it? That's all you have. Oh, my Lordy, I done what you told me to do. You told me the preacher done that too. I done what you told me to do. You told me the preacher done that too. I done what you told me to do. Oh, my Lordy, I done what you told me to do. You told me to sing, I done that too. I done what you told me to do. You told me to do. You told me to love, I done that too. I done what you told me to do.
I just want to share a little bit of this with you. They say slaves are happy because they laugh and are merry. I myself and 3 or 4 others have received 200 lashes in the day and had our feet in fetters, yet at night we would sing and dance and make others laugh at the rattling of our chains. Happy men we must have been. We did it to keep down trouble, to keep our hearts from being completely broken. That is as true as the gospel. Just look at it. Must not we have been very happy? Yet I have done it myself. I have cut capers in chains. Just that little excerpt just strikes me, and it always reminds me of the challenges folks had during the days of slavery. Even with the triumphs of Mitchelville, we realize that Mitchelville was established out of adversity. It wasn't always a time when everybody was happy and having a good time, and we were just so happy to be in slavery and so thankful that they gave us Mitchelville, and we were just so happy. As a matter of fact, even today in 2018, we are still struggling with some forms of slavery. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Freedom isn't free. There have been many others who've gone on before us who had to laugh and dance and shuck and jive and Uncle Toms and whatever we want to say. They had to lay down their lives so that you and I could be here right now. At this time, I'd like to invite a colored soldier.
Yes, that's me. Just to think of those words, colored soldier, back in 1862, in the 1860s. How improbable that would be. Well, since I achieved those goals, let's go back and see how I got here and earned this title. You've heard several speakers before me. General Mitchell, Reverend Murchison. Those two men were instrumental in getting me to this place. So let's examine my life as a soldier. But first, let's begin at the beginning. My name is Samuel Sancho Christopher. I was born a slave to R.P. Pope. Well, if you were a slave, you usually take the name of your slave owner. Our Samuel Christopher should not have been my name. It should have been Samuel Pope. How I got the name Christopher, we are still trying to find out. But I was born on Hilton Head Island, April 15, 1843. As I mentioned, I was a slave. Life on the island was pretty regimental. As a slave on the plantation, your life was already mapped out. Sunrise to sunset, you knew exactly what you were supposed to be doing. Living on the island, just take a look around. All of where you are now sitting used to be fields. This is where I would spend my day. Right now it's filled with trees. They weren't here when I was here. When the war started, there was a lot of commotion. And the plantation owners were gathering all of their valuables. We were left out of that line of communication as to what was going on. We didn't have anything newspapers to tell us what was all the commotion was about. And if we did have them, we wouldn't be able to read them because we weren't able to learn to read. Just imagine that. And just think forward, someone not able to read and eventually will become a soldier. Another impossible dream. But let's continue. Reverend Murchison, who spoke, was instrumental in getting the young men who were on the island after the war broke out. It was his persistence and his connection to the Union Army that made that possible for us to become soldiers. That meant that we had to leave our families in order to take that journey. Just imagine, if you will, you were a slave, 1860, 1861, the war broke out. General Mitchell and his army occupied this entire island. That was the first change in the life of us who were here. Instead of working the plantations, we were now employed by the Union Army. Instead of free labor, we were being paid. That's a big step forward.
And now we'll hear from an abolitionist.
I am an abolitionist. Frederick Douglass was a friend of mine. I learned from him how to watch my back in this dangerous calling of abolition work, and to deliver a message of purpose to those who would listen. I traveled back roads and city streets, appealing to the hearts and minds of strangers. some dead and fed when needed. It is a life I am now free to serve after 30 years being a slave. I escaped hell and ran like a madman on the Underground Railroad from safe house to safe house until I reached freedom. And here I am, now doing whatever I can to further the cause for those I left behind and for the continued progress of those who enjoy liberation, like all of you here today. It took me 3 years to get where I am, in a position to speak out on the atrocities of that infectious institution called slavery that has seeped into every crevice of American society and spoiled the fabric of personal or reasonable responsibility. Where is the justice? Where is the humanity? Do you ever ask these questions? This is not how God intended his children to live and mingle with one another. Is it that slave owners don't believe there is a God to answer to? What shame should be upon the faces of those brothers and sisters who advocate their superiority to the Negro race, that they are above blame when it comes to answering to their master on their disobedience to his most holy commandments, which are to love God and to love thy neighbor as thyself. What insanity has fallen upon the land when common sense reigns mute and havoc befalls the minds of those who trust an unquenchable desire for money and power only to destroy innocent human lives. I spend my days talking with white and freed Negroes, sharing my first-hand experience of slavery, giving a day-by-day, blow-by-blow recall of the price I paid to be alive. I advise them to read Frederick Douglass's Narrative of an American Slave. Mr. Douglass has given us a living document of his trials as a slave at the hands of evil. Yet he arose a victor. The abolition movement has taken many turns, from John Brown and Harriet Tubman to the military men and missionaries who arrived to the Sea Islands during the Port Royal experience, and certainly not to exclude the early Mennonites and Quakers. All were men and women, black and white, who have given their lives to improve conditions of others with no rights and privileges. These workers, generally called abolitionists, were not always on the same accord with one another or even with those they served. I've seen it myself. Even the abolitionists who worked faithfully besides the freedmen at Penn Center and Mitchelville portrayed inklings of prejudice and judgmental superiority over the freedmen. I know. We are all human and fall short. And yet, these precious souls came to an existence fair in comfort, risking death from yellow fever and malaria in order to uplift the unfortunate during a time of war, economic, social, and political upheaval. And there had been personal conflict as well. Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin both owned slaves, yet they publicly expressed disdain for the institution. Personal conflict was rampant, north and south, east and west, hearts torn between common sense and evil desires. Lord, Lord help us. As I travel from meeting place to place, questions abound. How did I survive the hardships of slavery? Did I ever lose hope? Do I feel responsible for those I left behind? How do I know to trust, or who do I know to trust in my travels? The doubt is always there. Is a smile or handshake genuine, or merely a trap to sabotage the movement and the progress of justice? I ask myself these questions, but cannot allow fear to block my path to seeking rights for my people. It is as clear as day and night. If the Declaration of Independence declares men are created equal, then there can be no slave and owner. Lawmakers state in the Constitution, we are only 3/5 human. Is this to deny we are men? Therefore, they can deny us our constitutional rights by saying that we are not human beings and hence not men? Shame on them. And it will come to haunt every step they tread. In the end, they will see their own moral folly. But it will be too late for them to change their atrocious misdeeds. We want freedom now. Some say, give it to us gradually. Others want to send us back to Africa. Even our president entertains that thought. I was born here. This is where I saw my freedom at birth. But my first breath was stifled and I was made a slave. But freedom is natural, is a natural gift from God by His grace. When I shake off man's cloak of oppression, then I can breathe free. Praise be to God. Now I come before you today, brothers and sisters, begging, examine all your physical and spiritual being, heart and soul. Will you support slavery or freedom? Which will it be?
free. No more chains holding me. My soul is resting. It's just a blessing. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. I'm free. Before freedom, my slave name been August Blake, given me by a white mistress when I was born on the Combahee to the Blake family. I growed up a man there on the plantation till we get word to seek freedom where the Yankees take Port Royal near Beaufort in the big gun shoot of November, the year 1861. We skate across the waters on to Hilton Head Island and rest we weary souls in the garden of Mother Eve freedom. Some think it's been heaven, where God planted us deeper than any root I know. He done that because we his children, in search of solid ground to call home. Now I fret on the inside as we make our way through the woods and the creek to freedom. Afraid to the old rebels find us and kill us, and since we know his days is over and he can't no longer have us. But we make our way to Lincoln soldiers at Fort Wells. Careful and respectful we been, because we know they not glad for us, lest we diggin' and scraping. But we build and hunt and fish and farm for them, and they give us our due. Fair most of the time. And the missionaries did come from up north to teach us to read and write and the basics of life. So we ain't afraid of no white folks, whether they're in uniform or not. We know where we stand with them, and we know why. And God ain't gonna leave us far behind. But we've got to do our part to keep up. Just like we been the Africans in 1822, when Denmark Vesey started his plan to overtake Charleston and free all the slaves that would go with him. We ain't had no uprisings here. Battle been between white folks, North and South, Union and Confederate, brother against brother. Colored folks done their part. But the gates opened wide November 7th when the Union take over Port Royal South and Hilton Head become free territory. Because the Yankees run the rebels out, but Vesey came before such opportunity. Vesey get to be a free man. He done get the sweet taste of Iman. But the sweet turned to bitter, because the people still been in bondage. On top of that, a free man of color can't be certain of whether he wouldn't be picked up by a slave catcher and sold back into slavery under laws set forth by the government. A black man ain't safe here, even if he is called free. But Vesey take a chance and buy his way out of freedom, winning a lottery. He used what he had and spent over a year to organize his people. Word been there was 1,000 men ready to fight and kill their way out of slavery. If they'd been successful, they would gather others and escape to the Black Republic of Haiti. Come to find out, they all been betrayed by 2 weak slaves who put their faith in a false master rather than the only master up above. 72 men killed, some hanging there like carcass, and Vesey among the slain. But it ain't been in vain. The message come to us through the years and fill us with hope that one day we would suck upon sweet freedom. I get a taste of freedom when we run to come here. It seemed as we was running, I was breathing my own air and not asking permission. Before I run, I couldn't understand why so many had risked their lives to stand up to guns and knives and hanging and angry white folk, but they was after freedom. Then somebody hollered, "Run! Run! Run!" And we take off. Some in boat, some by land, to get to the sacred place. We all meet up here. And now I know what freedom is, what it looked like, what it smelled like, and the sweet taste now stay in my mouth. I ain't never been anything like African men and women working on the land and getting money for their time and labor. Oh, I hear there's some places African slaves make a wage doing trade, but the money goes to their owner. But I ain't never seen in many days until I get to Mitchelville. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Once again, we want to thank our cast of characters. General Orange B. Mitchell, played by Dr. Brett Morris. Reverend Murchison, played by the Reverend Dr. General Hay. A colored soldier, played by the esteemed Murray Christopher. He is a direct descendant, right here of Mitchelville. A real native islander. And the abolitionist, played by Dr. Fred Washington Jr. I just elevated you, I'm sorry. You've always been an expert and a doctor in my mind, so I'm giving you an honorary doctorate from right here. Next time I see you'll be the Reverend Doctor. And last but not least, our own troubadour, Scott Gibbs, the master, to bring it all home for us. And to our students from Goose Creek who came up and spoke, we are certainly grateful that they came. And Miss Parker for that beautiful dance.